90.7 WMOM, Pentwater, Ludington, Reed City, and all of West Michigan. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to Leading West Michigan, a show about success and featuring local leaders and people in local business. And now here's your host, Ryan Howe.
Good morning, everyone. So we have a great show for you today. I'm Ryan Howe, founder of Summit Business Guides. I'm a strategic business coach who helps small to medium-sized businesses like Larson's Landscaping and Safe Harbor Credit Union with their strategic planning and operational execution. If you're ready to make a change for the better, I can help. Learn more at summitbusinessguides.com. So this show is all about learning about our guest's leadership journey, and joining us today is, I've discovered after we put this out on Facebook, he doesn't necessarily need to be introduced, but we're going to introduce him anyways. It's Mr. Mark Boon from Ludington Schools. Morning, Mark.
Good morning.
Yeah, so just an update on the Facebook post that we put out there is the number of shares and kind of where we're at. So, I mean, this is viral for this area, but it's I would say rock star status for you at this point. So over 230 likes and little loves and the little emojis with the little love heart things or whatever. We had 19 comments and 19 shares. Again, that's definitely viral for where we're at.
And I hope they were good.
They were good. Matter of fact, I printed out some of the comments because I wanted to share some of them. They were great. So, saying it's. Mark is a great example of dedication and kindness. He truly cares about kids. Thank you, Mark, for all you do. What an amazing person. Glad I've had the opportunity to know Mr. Boon. Great job, Mark. And then they've got champagne and little things going off the emojis and stuff. And they continue on and on. And I think the one that I really liked here was lead the flock, Mr. Boon. Congratulations. And that's kind of what I expected to have happen. So, but for the three people who don't know who you are in this area, if you wouldn't mind sharing exactly who you are, what you do, and go from there.
Okay, well, as you mentioned, I'm a Ludington person. I've been born and raised here in Ludington. Actually, I was born in Detroit, but raised here, came here at an early age. And
what age did you come here?
About 2 years old.
Okay, 2 years. Okay,
yep.
So it was a long walk.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. So, and my dad was a doctor here in Ludington, and we got to start back in I was born in 1950, and came here like in 51, 52, and I've been here ever since. Other than leaving for short periods of time to go away to college and that type of thing. So, I attended school here in the old Lakeview Elementary School. Went to junior high.
Well, hold on. Old. I put
yeah,
two
it was
on
rebuilt
there.
after that, and then since has been torn down.
And you also work, and we're definitely going to spend some time on your school and then you also help with the county with something as well. What do you do with them?
Yep, and with the county, I work with Mason County Juvenile Court, supervising community service kids. That started years and years ago when we had trouble getting Oriole Field cleaned, and Ed Harwood and myself talked to Tom McGill and asked if there'd be an opportunity there to get some kids helping us. We set that up, and it's been going ever since. That was maybe like 30 years ago, something like that.
Yeah. So we definitely want to spend some time on that too, because again, that's one of those. Again, it's just unique. Plus the impact you get to have because you spend time with those young men and women that are doing those things as well. So again, if you're just joining us, we're talking with Mark Boon from Ludington Schools here on Leading West Michigan. Again, I'm Ryan Howe, and the show is all about learning about our guest's leadership journey. So from Detroit, what made the family move up here from Detroit?
Well, my dad was a medical person. My mom was from Detroit, the Detroit area, and I believe Dr. Carney and some of the other doctors at that time, they were looking for new doctors, and they invited my dad up. They fell in love with the place, and we've been here ever since.
What was his specialty?
He was a general practitioner.
Okay, so he's a GP.
Yep.
So okay,
almost all of the guys were back then. Guys and women. Dr. Ruth Carney was also here, and they did just about everything. And oh boy, I got some stories to tell. Back then their offices were near their houses, and so we helped out a lot in the office with different things. And
I Drew Dostal right now is probably just going, man, wouldn't that be easy if we could just get a bunch of GPs up here to handle instead of the specialists? But no, I mean, that's kind of the way what you had to do back then, though. Like, again, this is as far as this area, where else were you going to call if something needed to be done? It wasn't as easy to get around at all.
Sure.
Yeah. So I get that. So, what did your mom? What did she do?
My mom was a nurse, and she worked for my dad.
Okay.
And after my mom died, my dad got remarried to Dorothy Beaker, who is still alive. Dorothy was a nurse at what was the Paulina Stearns, and then Memorial Hospital.
Okay, great. And again, that's so. From the moment that your family got here, you started having an impact. It seems like that. So, so when you got into school, obviously here in Ludington, did you like school?
I would probably say I liked I liked that we had a lot of friends. We had and back then the schools I thought a great place to go. You're always going to have people that didn't like school, but for myself, I really did enjoy it.
Okay, and so with your classes, though, and it's one that I always like to ask too, is like, what were your favorite classes? Which ones did you actually enjoy the most?
Well, as I came through through junior high, I never cared much for math classes and things like that. But at the high school level, I really enjoyed like speech classes. That was probably my most favorite class I ever had.
Speech classes. Why is that? Because the math one I get. A lot of folks aren't math people, but
I'm finding that out.
Yeah, there's a lot of. But with the speech class, to say that's not something most people like say, get me up in front of people.
No, it's the truth. And I know we've talked before about mentors and people in your life. Mr. Galinsky, who is still living here in Ludington, was our speech teacher at the time. And he was one I kind of modeled myself after. I tried to. He took things serious, but yet he made things fun and very relevant to what was going to happen in your life. And I think at the time, speech was very important. I believe that's an area we're really lacking right now. I think we've gotten too much into our phones to where people aren't able to speak fluently, clearly in front of the public, even sometimes in front of each other. It's hard.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I like speech class too. So kindred spirits here. Give me a chance to stand in front of people and talk. My mom will tell you. I'll take that every time. But the thing that I liked about those speech classes as a whole, though, was you were forced to, you had to write everything out, but you had to actually structure your thoughts. They had to be well put together in order to be effective, which you wanted to have there. So, and having to learn the different styles. So I think to your point, a focus back on that, of being able to, hey, let's really craft your argument and make sure that you are able to support your argument is really beneficial to everyone. Plus, once you get in front of people, I think you're well aware of this.
Yep.
After about 30 seconds or so, you're just having a conversation at that point.
Exactly. Yep. And I think the important part of that is on almost a daily basis now, we're telling kids, look up at the person you're talking to. Look up and speak clearly.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah. So you got it. So no math. That's cool. Got into, so it was like literature and writing. Is that something you liked as well? Or was it simply just?
Yeah, not so much.
Okay.
I just was, I was an average student.
Yep.
And I just, I participated in sports. They had not as many sports as we have now. Now there's something for everyone. But I did enjoy sports. I like the camaraderie of it. I like the coaches. I just like that atmosphere. I still enjoy that atmosphere.
All right.
And, but I would think probably speech would have been my favorite.
Which leads into while you were in high school, right? I believe you had a position as a mayor.
Yes, I was the high school mayor my senior year.
So you had to actually run. You actually had to go ahead and run for that as well, too,
Yes.
right? And everything. So what was your platform?
Mainly to involve everyone in as many activities as you can. I think it's important that any type of kid can still have that feeling that he belongs to the school, and I think that's still important.
That's one of the things when I talk about people who go to the larger schools. It's hard to get that inclusiveness in here. Again, Mason County Eastern. That's one of the things we've said for years. We're too small to have cliques. Everyone's everyone's around there, but in this case, Ludington at the time is a larger. Obviously had a higher population than it does. To be able to come through and make an effort,
right?
To say, hey, we want to make sure everybody has a voice and see that stuff. So, and obviously it resonated since you got elected, which is good. And my mom, when I was talking to her, said that you were basically voted was all around.
The all around senior.
So what goes into all around senior?
Well, and we still have that all-around senior. The teachers, the kids would vote on who they felt was maybe best representative of everything that makes a good student, helps make a good school. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just kind of trying to relay what we're still continuing to do.
Sure.
And then maybe there were like 10 kids that would voted, and then the teachers would then vote on that. Out of those 10 to pick that individual. And we still do that to this day.
I think that's great. So for those just joining us, again, this is Leading West Michigan. I'm Ryan Howe with Summit Business Guides. And we're talking with Mark Boon from Ludington Schools. Again, all-around senior. He went there. So for someone, again, average student, and did you know what you wanted to do when you were graduating as far as for work or college, or did you have an idea what?
It was tough then, Vietnam War time, and I had already been accepted to go to college to Western Michigan, and I was leaning toward the education end of things. The war continued on, and most of us assumed we would probably be drafted as we graduated. Fortunately for myself, my graduation year, the draft ended, and I went right into teaching right away.
Okay, so out of Western, so did you go was it just general studies to start with? Or
Yes, I started with just general studies that first year. I had a lot of friends looking at law enforcement. I had a lot of them looking in different areas. We didn't have computers and things of that nature, so you were a little bit more limited at that time. I got on a paint crew down there, and I really enjoyed that. And actually,
like houses and stuff?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, we would do that, and it was really fun. And actually, when I came back here, I ran a paint crew of a couple of guys for, maybe 15, 20 years. Dr. Mark Yeck, the local chiropractor, worked with me for many years, and we enjoyed that. We did a lot of work in Epworth on a lot of local houses. But my focus was still toward education. I had gotten involved in driver's training while I was down in Kalamazoo. I had a friend that encouraged me to get certified to do that. And that's probably been the most solid thing the entire time. One of the things I enjoy the most, and I've taught that now. This is my 51st year of teaching driver's training.
I was about to say, so you're still doing it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about Brittany, about the it was Brittany Septurin from Britter's Twisted Whisk, by the way. Great treats if you want to head down there. So. Yeah, it was just she's one of the people when I was talking, I was like, hey, I'm having Mr. Boon on, and her face just lit up, and her story she had to share was about driver's training. So that's great. So with that, again, going back to the college piece, at what part did you really figure out that, like, was there a moment you went, I want to go into education, this is where I need to be at?
Well, I think probably after my freshman year, and my grades were decent, but you go away to school and you want to have some fun, and I encourage kids, you want to be a kid as long as you can. You want to have as much fun as you can. A lot of kids bombed out in school. That was a concern. But I think toward the end of my freshman year, I came back here and I did see the impact that my teachers had on me, and I think from that point on, I was ready to go. I was ready to go into education.
Yeah, and that's the thing where I've heard from the folks who have been very successful in education. We've had a lot of superintendents on, the principals, that when they see the impact that they could have, the selflessness that comes from that, you're like, I want to be able to have a wider impact on things. And not necessarily because you had teachers you didn't like. It's just you want to be able to say, hey, I want to go and help.
Exactly.
So that's great.
Yep.
So your first jobs in teaching, was it here?
Actually, I did a driver ed shift in Kalamazoo.
Okay.
And then my former principal, Mr. Arndt, had called and said they had an opening that summer for a driver ed teacher. That would have been 1972. And I came back and worked with several of my old teachers, which was kind of hard because they were your old teachers, and now you were working with them. And I really enjoyed it. And at that very first year, I didn't have a regular teaching job. I actually subbed for 2 years, and then was hired in through the Ludington schools, and I've been there pretty much ever since.
Oh, that's great. So again, we're continuing our conversation with Mark Boon here, and learning how driver's ed turns into a full-time job at some point. That's great. No, that's to that point you made there about working with your previous teachers. So I'm on the board at Mason County Eastern. So Paul Shelp's on there, and I've got Ed Miller. So Ed Miller was my civics teacher, and Paul was kind of all around. He coached some track and cross country, but he was a science teacher. And I've told stories about each of these individuals and other times that they have here, and it's just really wild to be coming and sitting like, wait a minute, Paul works for me now. That's weird. Okay, but
and you see that quite a bit. Like if I went to get a blood test at the hospital for a physical and some things, and you see your former students there, and you go almost any place now that you go, you'll see former students, and that's great to see them working, see them being successful, smiling and still remember who you are, that type of thing.
Yeah, well, that's what you're hoping. They're happy to see you. So let's talk about your first, like, you finally got your first class. So what were you teaching? Where'd you start off at?
I started as a health teacher.
Okay.
And I had a health minor, and I really enjoyed it right from the very get-go. I picked up a couple of speech classes along with that, which was my major. And back then, you covered whatever they had openings for. You didn't have to worry about being highly certified in specific areas. They did try to keep you in your proper areas, but you'd cover a lot of different things, but mostly health and speech.
Okay, so I'm not surprised by speech. Obviously you're enjoying it, but also gives you an opportunity to craft it. So how is it being on the other side of that? Basically, you enjoying going up there, now watching these young men and women having to get the shakes and the jittery hands and the sweat and everything.
Yeah, and it was the nice thing about it. It's almost like driver's training. I always enjoyed speech because you would see improvement from the first time someone talked until toward the end of it. And a lot of them would come up and say, "Oh man, I feel so much better about myself." And I see that in driver's training. You'll have a kid that's never started a car, and it's constant improvement. And by the end, they say, "Oh man, I feel so good about myself." And I think that's what life's about. It's not only teaching them, it's making them feeling good about themselves.
Yeah, instilling that confidence to be able to do those things. Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned driver's training. So they come out to, with Custer, we had to do all that. All of us had grown up on tractors or on farm trucks and everything. So we're just like, yeah, we got this. Let's go through the motions and do this stuff here. It was pretty funny. But then as a parent going through and teaching my daughters how to drive, God bless you. That's all I can say. Oh my goodness.
It's a different arena, but it's a very rewarding one.
God bless you for taking that on. So how long were you in, basically teaching, and then what were your steps after that? Because again, you spent time as principal, correct?
I was a classroom teacher for quite a while, and then they switched me, and I was kind of like pseudo-administrative, working in the attendance office, helping out in kind of a little bit of a at-risk counseling role. We were starting to have some issues back then with kids, and the drug scene was getting going again. So I went into a role of that nature, and I really enjoyed that. I did that for quite some time. And then we got into a situation where they were moving some of us into actual administrative roles, and I was looking to be the assistant principal under Dr. Greg Mowen, and Greg left on short notice over the summer. And the administrative team of Mike Winchesky, Dan Neal, myself, we had hired Cal DeKuyper out of the Fremont area. We got together, and I kind of became principal by default,
just kind of fell
almost
into it.
by default. But I tell you what, we had the greatest administrative team. We got things together in August with short notice. We made some changes that we felt were needed that our former principal was not in favor of, but our superintendent was. He was very, very. All of our superintendents have been very supportive, and I tell you, we had probably one of the best administrative teams in all of West Michigan. At the time, there were a lot of people changing positions and changing schools, somewhat for advancement, but somewhat because of being dissatisfied. Our crew here was as satisfied as we could be. We had a great staff. We had a great community to work with. We had great kids. You couldn't have asked for anything more. I had a great run as a principal.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit of time here for our first break, but I want to circle back on that for a second. So how did that conversation go as far as hey, you're in line for assistant principal, and this just happened? They say, you're it, basically, or
well, it was funny. Mike Oakes, who you know, Mike Oakes was our superintendent, and we all sat down in over in our boardroom, and Dan Neal looked up and said, he said, "I think Boone's probably the guy that we should put in charge." And I said, "Well, I wasn't big on meetings and things. I'm more liking to be with the kids." And I said, "Well, I can try it for a year. Well, let's do it for a year and see what happens." And it was just a great year. It was probably one of the best years that I've had, and my crew was so good. And we weren't problem free, but I'll tell you, we had a great bunch.
And that's probably that piece too, where as far as having that team that you had, because we'll say three amigos for now, but three of you there, and then you probably said, I need to be able to leverage my team, because you may or may not have felt you were prepared, but knowing you at least had that backstop and mentors to go to and people to say, hey, I'm not sure what to do here. So there's a lesson out of which I'm going to get a ton of lessons from today. I've already been scratching notes, but of there is for everyone is it very rarely is it ever just one person who's got it all figured out. And if you find that you're in that position, chances are you don't have it figured out. So always look to leverage your team. So again, you've been listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So we're going to take our first break, and when we return, I want to talk a little bit about your time as principal, and then move on from there.
Perfect.
Looking for a career change? Are you kind, caring, and passionate about helping others?
If so, Oakview Medical Care Facility is looking for people just like you.
Are you a licensed RN, LPN, or a certified CNA looking for a change in scenery?
Oakview Medical Care Facility is looking for new team members like you. We offer reimbursement for CNA tuition testing and mileage to classes.
An amazing benefit package for new employees, including a $1,000 sign-on bonus, paid life insurance, birthday bonus, paid holidays, 401k, and much more.
Starting wage can be negotiated depending on experience. If this sounds like something for you, please contact Oakview Medical Care Facility and get started on your new career.
To learn more about the available positions,
please call Kathleen at 231-845-5185. That's 231-845-5185
for a confidential conversation or online at oakviewmcf.com.
Hi, Randy Sarnowski here with McGee Insurance. When was the last time you read your insurance policy? Do you truly understand what you may or may not be covered for? At McGee Insurance, partnered with Auto Owners Insurance, we understand this could be a daunting task and are here to help. Our certified insurance professionals are here to work with you so that you understand and know you and your assets are properly covered. Getting to know our customers and finding the right solutions for their needs is what we are all about. To start building your insurance program, stop on in or call McGee Insurance Group, your local auto owners insurance agency at 231-845-5000. McGee, the guarantee you can count.
It's another way to increase the awareness of your events and happenings. It's Mom's Fridge Magnets, presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Did you know that West Michigan CMH has a veteran peer navigator to serve those who served our country? This is a free service and is available to any veteran in Lake, Mason, and Oceana County. We can provide peer mentoring, emotional support, help in obtaining military documentation, connect to medical, mental health, or substance use programs, and so much more. Call us today at 1-800-992-2061. That's 1-800-992-2061.
Our service team at Watson Motors in Ludington and Manistee will treat your vehicle like one of our own. We're by your side whenever you need car service or repair work done. Watson Motors in Ludington is located at the corner of Dennis and US 10 and in Manistee on Parkdale Road across from Big Al's Pizza.
Pentwater's Family Halloween Party is back on Saturday, October 28th. At 12 o'clock p.m., there will be Halloween activities and candy bags on the Village Green. Also, at noon, there will be a costume contest. At 12:30 to 1:30 p.m., there will be a spooky scavenger hunt, and from noon to 2 p.m., there will be trick-or-treating with participating merchants. The host of the party is Pentwater Chamber of Commerce. Interested in volunteering at this event? Contact the Chamber of Commerce at 231-869-4150 or visit events at pentwater.org. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe, Summit Business Guides, and we're continuing our conversation with Mark Boon from Ludington Schools. Before the break, we kind of locked in on the fact that you had a lot of people say, hey, we trust you, and we have faith in your ability to be the principal here, even though you're like, hey, I might need to figure this out for a bit. So, knowing that you had that support, we mentioned on the way out, it was good. So as far as for your time as principal, were there any, what are some of the challenges you had to deal with, maybe not necessarily with students individually, but as a whole?
Mm-hmm. Well, I learned at a young age from my parents. They always told us, surround yourself with good people, and it'll make your life a lot easier. And I was fortunately able to do that, especially in my administrative role as a principal. As I mentioned earlier, I had a really good crew to work with. We had hired just excellent teachers. So we really had what could be considered almost a perfect scenario to go into as a principal. But life's not perfect, and we at the time we had a lot of kids that were really struggling academically. More so, what I was seeing as a principal was the struggle that they were having in their homes, financially maybe. That type of thing. And my wife had started a small program out to the original alternative school that would provide meals on weekends for kids, and we got pretty involved in that. And I thought I really knew things, but I really didn't until I started going out into some of the families, some of the homes.
What do you mean? If you just extrapolate a little bit, like when you went into some of these homes?
Well, we would go and provide food back before we actually started our backpack program. And I had a lot of local people, Hackerts and some of them, that would give us venison. And so we were able to provide food for kids, because at the time, the only meals they were getting were the school meals, and not a lot at home. And that program really was probably, I think, one of the greatest things that we ever did, and it truly blossomed into a program. I have what's called the Ludington Schools Youth Resource Center, and that helps in a lot of different ways. We do hygiene items, we do used clothing for kids, we help them with any kind of needs that they may have, and we've got some offshoots of that. The Coats and Boots program here locally that the Schmocks have, the food club, our food backpack program now. We've got tremendous different resources to be able to help everybody. And so if kids need help now, they're going to get help. And that was probably my biggest challenge as a principal. We did get into areas, where you're always going to have kids that don't enjoy school, and that's great. That's fine. We went with the alternative schools, which I believe are a good fit for a lot of kids. Other than that, the financial challenges that families faced and that the schools faced. And fortunately, Ludington has a very generous community, in that they've supported our millages, so we've been able to keep up with that real good. They've supported almost any programs that we have. We get a lot of wonderful donations. I always tell our teachers, try not to go out and hit businesses, because they get hit so much on different things. But we've got businesses that just are more than willing to help our kids, as they are in our community. And we have a Chamber of Commerce here that runs almost anything that you could ever ask for in the summertime for a group. So my challenges were few and far between as a principal. Not to say that we didn't have challenges, but compared to many school districts, we are and still are in pretty good shape.
Yeah, that's, we were talking a little bit on the break about food insecurity as a whole, and just the fact that the number of people I knew a lot of folks that I went to school with that were bouncing from house to house to house. They'd be considered homeless. And we didn't think of them as homeless, but they were actually homeless at that point. And now, I was talking with another individual about that too. It made me think about it. So like this is not a new thing. It's just that we're better at identifying this.
Yep.
And the other side too, I guess, when you were a principal, folks are more willing to ask for help now?
I think so. I think back then it was, you had to, I would stand in the hall and try to identify kids that came without coats. Now they'll come to us when we do the announcement, and they'll say, hey, here's what I need. This is my size, and I can call Sid or Tim, and they can come up with that, with a coat, with boots, with different things. We've got our own stock of sweatshirts, socks. There's so many good groups trying to help kids.
Yeah, and that's, I think, for, again, my time in the military, the military people, again, they're still people. And that was one thing where I really learned, and I had to as part of my job as first sergeant, was learning all of these agencies are there to provide support for everything. And, growing up, the education piece wasn't there as far as knowing what was happening. I absolutely love the fact now that we've created an environment where these helping agencies are not, there's access to them, but the young men and women are educated to the point where they know we're here to help. It's not a judgment. It's like, hey, if you need help, let's help, because they can't learn if they're cold, they can't learn if they're hungry, they can't.
I think that's a very important point that you just mentioned, that we're not here to judge them, we're really here to help them. And our Christmas programs have just flourished at the schools. You've heard of the Giving Tree program now, and those started out at such a small level. We were getting socks, underwear, things like that, and pack them in a bag with a ribbon for kids. And what a terrible Christmas present if you're a high school kid to get some underwear and some socks. And we kind of expanded from there, and we had local businesses offering to help. And Mr. Shaner from Floorcraft and different people have helped us for many years, and they've put their trust in us that we'd spend their money wisely. And what a great thing for a kid to get a movie pass, and maybe a McDonald's, a little gift card to go to McDonald's or go to the movie theater or just something special for them. And so those programs have really flourished, and I thank the community for that, because boy, I got to say, there's a lot of places that don't do much for their kids anymore, but this community just bends over backwards to help, and we've got so many people wanting to help. Yeah, I know, and I think that's that, especially in this area, the need's there, but the ability to give is also there. Yep. And it's great to be able to marry those two up. Yep. So again, we're continuing our conversation with Mark Boon from Ludington Schools. So at what point did you move on from being a principal, and what did that look like, that transition? Well, we didn't have a sixth grade in our middle school at the time, and we had been looking toward that direction. And as we were preparing to do that, the year that we were getting ready to do the sixth grade at that time, I had an assistant principal at each end, at the junior high, and an assistant principal at the high school. Caldy Kuiper had moved into the superintendent's position at that point, and I told Cal, I said, I think that this would be a time that maybe it's a couple years before I was going to retire, but might be a good time for me to retire so that we could place a principal at each end. So strategically, I think it was probably good for the school, and so that's when I opted to go for retirement. And I was pleasantly surprised when I announced my retirement. I had, some of the local realtors and insurance people, a lot of people said, "You're too young to quit working. You ought to think about keeping going." And Dale Horowski, who had taken over for me then, had said, maybe you might want to come back and work at the school that sounds like Dale. Yeah, hey, how can I keep you close? In a non-administrative position. And so I came back for a year in what was called an at-risk position, similar to what I did when I first started. And golly, I got to tell you, I loved it so much because I didn't have to go to all the meetings. You got to spend time with kids. You were doing the stuff that you really loved doing. And what a great thing. You could get paid to do stuff that you love. Yeah, no. So if you give a quick description on at-risk, what does that at-risk mean? The at-risk programs really take anybody that's probably not academically up to snuff, maybe socially, some situations. Maybe they have involvement with the court programs. Okay. Maybe they've had some issues with substance abuse, and the schools really try as hard as they can to do that helping hand for them, not to slap them down. It's more to help them up. And so that's what the at-risk positions are for. Yeah, that makes sense. And then that, again, when we come back, want to definitely talk about your time at the work at the county as well, because I think that's when you mentioned that as part of what you're doing, I thought that was fantastic. And, one of the things that I'm definitely familiar with is, there's always folks that are at risk in and around the area. And again, it's just one of those transitions that's occurred over the last, let's say, 30 years, that the understanding of taking the time and figuring out, okay, how can we help these people succeed, rather than making that I want to say judgmental or thinking they're beyond help, that I'm glad that transition's happened. So, again, you've been listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into this next break, and when we come back, I want to talk about your work over at the county and the importance, the impact it's had on those at-risk youths.
Looking to carve your own career path? Applebee's will help you develop it. With scholarship opportunities, flexible scheduling, stability of a career for a well-known national company, and of course, working with people you can consider family. Applebee's is currently hiring for several positions, including kitchen staff, servers, host, bartender, and car side. Go to the Applebee's website and click on the Careers tab to inquire for any of these positions.
Do you enjoy refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, building savings automatically, no monthly maintenance fees, and free digital banking? Well, Safe Harbor Credit Union offers a free checking account that pays 5% APY on balances up to $15,000. You can open your account within minutes. Innovative checking built on traditional values. Free Kasasa Cash rewards you for supporting your community. Some key features include high dividends, refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, no monthly maintenance fees, and no minimum balance requirements. To learn more, check out our website at safeharborcu.org or come visit us at our office at 5511 US 10. Member, owner, neighbor. Here, you're one and the same. Safe Harbor Credit Union.
St. John's Home Healthcare is seeking licensed nurses and certified nurse assistants to join our kind, caring, and compassionate staff. Many individuals with medical needs want to stay at home, but need more care than their families can provide. And that's where we come in. If you like working in a home environment and providing individuals with a little bit more of your personal touch, then we would love to hear from you. St. John's Home Healthcare offers flexible scheduling, health insurance with dental and vision options, paid sick leave, 401k, and more. If this sounds like something that fits your skill set, give St. John's Home Healthcare a call today at 231-845-7922. That's 231-845-7922. Or email us at info@stjohnshealthcare.net.
We're so excited for you to discover Yada Yada Resale. We are a resale store nestled on US 10, right next to Ludington Meat Company. We sell a variety of home goods, furniture, clothing, toys, seasonal decor, and more, with all the proceeds going directly to Covenant Christian School. So come on by, stop on in, or donate your gently used items. We have something for everyone. We're open 12 to 6, Monday through Saturday.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so welcome back. And before the break, we were in here with Mr. Boon from Ludington Schools talking about his work with the at-risk folks in the school. And I'd like to transition now to where you're talking about with court and what you do there. So how did that happen? What was that transition like?
Well, we used to run Saturday schools at the high school, and they were more of a penalty where the kids that had gotten in some trouble for different issues would sit in the cafeteria, and they'd have to do some studying. We'd get assignments and things for them, but some of the kids actually had very little homework to do. And so Ed Harwood and I were trying to figure a good way to get them out into the community. We had them clean up around the schools, and we started going up to Oriole Field, cleaning up after the football games, which was a tremendous task. And we ended up with going to Tom McGill, who was a referee at the Mason County Juvenile Court, and saying, Tom, why don't we get something a little bit more official going? So they started to refer kids to us, and we've been doing it ever since. I think that's been about 30 years now, and these kids help in almost any way. We help clean up after the 4th, and we help at Gus Macker, a lot of different programs, and it's been a good thing. Anytime that you have a kid that it gets assigned for 10 hours of community service and he's done, and then he says, I'd like to come back and help next week, that's what that's all about.
Yeah.
They know they've had to serve a penalty, but because of that penalty, they've also been able to do some real good for somebody, and whether it's moving furniture for an elderly person or whether it's helping at Macker, whatever it might be, it's so good for kids to see the good that they've done. Quite often we'll do the Adopt a Highway. And I love having kids get back in the car, and then on our route back, they'll say, look at that. Doesn't that look beautiful compared to what it looked like when we got here? That's a good feeling. And those kids then, I think they learn from that. I think there's so many programs that our community puts on where kids could be available to help with those things. And I think we're struggling in some activities to get volunteers. But I think our young kids need to realize that how important that is, and the reward, and how rewarding it is. And I think a lot of them, after they've done it, truly feel the reward involved. We had a Connection Point group that I'm part of, had the Haunted Trail out at Cartier Park last weekend, and a couple of the kids that volunteered to help from National Honor Society came the next day to school, came on Monday to school and said, we had so much fun. It was so cool to see the little kids going through that. So that's what it's all about, seeing that it's rewarding, and it also does some real good for the community.
So I want to you get your thoughts on this too, because anybody's listened to the show a few times, they know I'm always about, hey, sometimes you got to voluntold people to get them out to be experience volunteerism and what it actually is, that what you fill your bucket with. But I would venture, and correct me if I'm wrong, you may have their time with you in that situation to where it's punishment. Again, it's coming from the court, where they actually have somebody who is there and has a vested interest in them as a person, not for what they did, not from where they're from, just, hey, I want to spend time with you. That may be the first time that they've actually had a positive type environment like that. Did you see that, or did you feel that at times?
Oh, I think that's so true. At first I used to think they just wanted to come back because I buy them a cheeseburger or something at McDonald's when we get done. But I think they really started to, when I started to have kids say, "Could I come out to your house on Sunday?" We have a small farm south of town, and once in a while I'd have the kids come out and help me do something out there. And my wife was a rehabber of animals for a long time, and we still have horses and a lot of different animals. And I'll get so many kids that will say, my time is done, but would it be okay if I came out to your house? And we usually let them, sometimes hard to get rid of them. Excuse me, which is a good thing, I think. But I truly believe that they see the good in them. I like it when kids come back and say, the school never gave up on me. You guys never gave up on me, and that's changed my life. That's the kind of stuff that you like to hear.
Yeah. And so, but with that, that's been my experience unfortunately, that there happens to be that that lack of people coming in saying, just investing back into them and saying, what you're doing is, minus getting some labor at the farm, but is, altruistic in nature. You're simply just there doing good work for good work's sake, to be able to help somebody else by giving your time. And that seems to be, if I had to sum up, a big portion of what your career has been, is your time has been that very altruistic in nature, which I think is one of the reasons why we go back to those, those quotes that I had at the beginning there. So again, we're continuing our conversation here with Mark Boon from Ludington Schools here. So during your time, so you said it's been 30 years it's been going on here.
I think something like that. I always say it's been 10 years, and then I realize it's 20 years. So I just toss that 30 years out there. I think it's been pretty close to that, though.
So I guess from an administrative side of this, is this something that's been formally recognized? Is this something that the county has a formal agreement with? Because, and this is the reason I'm putting this out here, eventually you're going to have to stop at some point, and is that something that's been, paperwork's been signed, or at least there's a memorandum of understanding?
Well, it's more or less been a gentleman's agreement, I think, between the court and myself. I think it's been a wonderful program. The court has actually paid me for, I don't know, maybe the last 10 years, a stipend to help with it. Okay. Prior to that, we were always it was all volunteer, and you'd spend a lot of gas money and different things like that. So we kind of did this gentleman's agreement, and we've been doing it ever since.
Okay, so
it's worked out great.
That helps me then. If they've got a stipend, and that means it's a line item somewhere.
Yes.
So for anyone listening, and the importance of this, court, people in the court, the county commissioners, just make sure that line item continues to exist so that they can be funded because of the goodness. How many total students or individuals do you think have gone through there, if you had to guess?
Oh, goodness. I usually get probably maybe 3 or 4 referrals a month from the court, and then we usually make contact with the parent and set up some options for them. For some people that are way out in the Fountain Free Soil area, we might try to do something different where they could stay out that way. I know we've had them help before with sick individuals, with elderly individuals, helping with yard work and things. They can work at any nonprofit as long as they don't get paid. So we've really tried to scatter them around a little bit. I like to do the Ludington projects just because I'm here, and there are always so many of those to do. So most of the time we're here in Ludington, but we do try to work our way out into the other areas as much as we can.
So let's just say on the low end, it's about 100 people over this time, or we have a little bit more than that, but that's 100 individuals who have had the opportunity to be around an individual or individuals that say, we just care about you as a person. We want to show you what hard work for hard work's sake is like. 'Cause that's always been something that's when you don't experience that as a whole, understanding like sometimes you just have to work hard. That's just what has to happen.
Yeah.
And get an appreciation that you've been able to levy that onto those folks.
Yeah, and so. I think the good part about our community, whether it be school or the courts, we have really good people working in those roles. So if a person gets in some trouble, whether it be academically or whether it be over theft or whatever it might be, they've got good court workers that pay very, very close attention to them, that truly care for them. They've got good teachers that truly care for them. So I think you're right there. I think that caring that comes with it. People understand they may have done the wrong thing. They may not have worked up to their level, but there is somebody there that's going to push them to get up to that proper level.
Yeah, especially that accountability piece that goes with it. Because if they don't follow through on the community service side of that, there's consequences. There's consequences and penalties.
And, I'll mention just a real quick thing. Oftentimes when I have the kids work, I'll say to them, if people say anything to you, tell them you're doing this for National Honor Society. Don't tell them you're doing it for community service, because they'll treat you better. And the kids always laugh about that, but it's so funny to sometimes see these kids say, yeah, I'm doing it for National Honor Society, and the people will say, wow, you guys, you got a great group. Whereas if I would have said they're doing community service, they might have gone, oh, I don't know if I like that. But for the most part, they're a great group of kids.
No, and again, as we're heading into our final break here, that's one of the things that it's great. I'm glad you said that. The recipients, again, should be happy to have the work they're doing there. And if the individuals that are there, which I'm certain when they're working with you, they're on their best behavior and they're just trying to get through and do their part. It doesn't matter what group they're with. You know, I mean, I've been on, as someone who's been on the receiving end of charity when my wife and I were younger, I didn't care who they were, what it was. The fact that somebody dropped off gifts for my kids. And I was like, thank you so much. We appreciate that. So, again, you've been listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So it's time for that final break. When we return, we're going to talk with Mark about what's going on now and what's going to be happening through the rest of the year.
Okay, well, like I say, it's a...
Happy fall from our hive to your home. Did you know that Sister Bees has some new, fabulous fall finds? Today, we have been busy in the Sister Bees boutique, hand pouring our Harvest Beeswax candles. Handcrafted with the scent of clove and orange, it's the perfect way for your house to naturally smell like autumn. And fun fact, beeswax burns clean. And our cinnamon creamed honey is deliciously paired with a Michigan crisp apple for a naturally sweet treat. Come on in and have a free taste. We have new fall decor for your home or as a gift. Cozy blankets or even plum mead to enjoy around the campfire. So many new things to taste and see. Come check it out for yourself. This is one of our favorite times of the year. We're located on James Street, downtown Ludington. We're open Monday through Friday from noon until 5 and Saturday from 10 until 5. Happy fall!
Your heart is vital to your health. Corewell Health's Ludington Hospital has 3 board-certified cardiac specialists right here in Ludington at 7 Atkinson Drive, Suite 302. Talk to your doctor if you have concerns about your heart health. With local cardiology services now available, we make it convenient to get the care you need right here. To learn more or to schedule an appointment, call 231-291-8115. Thinking about moving to beautiful Ludington? Well, House of Flavors is looking for an experienced electrician. If you have your journeyman or master electrician license, we could use you on our team. House of Flavors not only offers an extremely competitive hourly wage, but we are also offering a $10,000 graduated sign-on bonus, as well as potential relocation assistance for the right qualified applicant. If this is the opportunity you have been looking for and want to work for an amazing company, visit the House of Flavors website, fill out an application on our career tab, and get the ball rolling. House of Flavors is an equal opportunity employer.
Mom's Fridge Magnets are community calendar announcements presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan, CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Hi, this is Lori at West Michigan CMH. We believe that every person has the potential to renew, rebuild, recover. We honor and respect the uniqueness and diversity for all people. Let us help you live your best life. Call us today at 1-800-992-2061. That's 1-800-992-2061.
Did you know getting regular oil changes improves your vehicle's mileage and improves your engine's performance? Clean oil is essential for keeping your engine and all the engine controls running smoothly. Stop by Lakeshore Automotive and Tire in Ludington to have your oil changed.
Manistee United Methodist Church is having a free fall block party in their parking lot on October 28th from 1 to 3 p.m. Come in costume and enjoy a free hot dog dinner, candy and treats, a photo booth, Bear Mountain Boys, and live music from River City Music School. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, so welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe, and we're on to the final segment here with Mark Boon of Ludington Schools. So with that, we've covered an awful lot of ground here during this first part here. So I guess to go back here, is there anybody locally you're working with now that you have as far as the team you want to just give a little shout out to or express some thanks to?
Well, excuse me, I mentioned earlier that my mom and dad had always said, surround yourself with good people. I've really been able to do that. My school staff, the staff that I work with is excellent. They're wonderful. The Connection Point group that I'm part of, we're with the Boon House for Addiction. That's probably the nicest board of people I've ever worked with. I'm on the food club board. Onelia runs a wonderful, wonderful program over there. She does a great job, and we have a truly a great board there. The court system works good. The school, I can't say enough about how much the school does to help people and to help the community. And I would give a shout out to all of them, including the many businesses here that are so generous to help us, and the individuals that are so generous to help, not just at Christmas time and then but throughout the year. So I would just shout it out to all those people that help another individual in any way that's possible.
Yeah, when I had to sneak over there, was it 2 weeks ago or last week, for the picture that we had to get for going out for social media. I remember I went to the front there. I was like, here to see Mr. Boone. I'm like, oh yes. And as I mentioned, I was coming to see you. Everyone was just like excited that I'm getting to go talk to they get a chance to just come hang out with you. But again, that's where it goes back to all these schools that we have, and I've had a lot of superintendents on, and we were talking principals. It is completely a team in these schools in order to get these things done, and your ability to go back and help that. So with that, we're coming into the season here where a lot of giving happens. So what sort of what would you recommend, or where can people help for what your areas where you're at?
Well, there's always need for help in so many different ways. You can our programs at the schools, which we call the Giving Tree here in Ludington, but also extends out into other areas. We've had people like, for example, the Yacht Club in the summertime has donated to these. The Boat Club holds, on I think it's December 9th maybe, they hold a program in memory of one of our former teachers, Bill Krause, where they provide food items, gift cards, hygiene items for kids. There's just so many different ways that you can help. You can call us at the school. You can any of the different groups that churches that wish to help. But from my point of view, the best thing would be obviously is going to be to help with either the Coats and Boots program, which provide coats and boots for kids. You can do that through Schmock's Landscaping. They have a number there. You can do Giving Tree programs through the schools. You can contact me individually if you have specific individuals you're concerned about or specific needs. We take a lot of referrals from people, so we're happy to help with that. You can always call me at school. They'll give you my cell number. And I think there's just so many ways that you can reach out during the Christmas time. Maybe there's kind of an unsung group are the elderly that I think sometimes need some help, some assistance also. And the churches do a very nice Thanksgiving meal. They do a Christmas meal. I would say you could volunteer for those, whether with money or whether with yourself. Mom Radio is doing a thing on October 29th, I think it is, for Halloween, and there's a nice chance to help also. So whether you're able to volunteer with money, which is always good, gift cards, always good, or your time, I would encourage you to do that in any way possible, and feel free to call me. I've got all sorts of ways that you could help.
And he's not joking about calling him, because you get a hold of Mark. He literally gives you time, and it's like you've been. He'll help you get wherever you need to get to.
Yep.
Now that's we're getting towards that time of need. Obviously, it's year round, but as these transition seasons occur, it's definitely a thing. So, in the last few minutes here, what's next for you? What's this look like for you going forward?
Well, every year I say it's my last, and then some kid will come up and say, just hang on one more year till I graduate. And so I've been doing that for quite a while, and you don't want to wear out your welcome. But I'm not sure. I truly still enjoy what I'm doing, and so I think I'm going to hang around for a little while, and whether it be continuing to do all of the things that I do or to pare back a little bit, I'm not quite sure yet what. But I plan to stay in the community, and I plan to keep helping as long as I can.
That's great. Yeah. It's and the thing that go out here again, as we mentioned, with the community here as a whole, we do need more people to start stepping up and learning alongside with you these different areas here. So I guess the question here in the last couple minutes: do you have anyone else that works with you with the court? Are you is this a solo operation?
I usually do it on my own with the court, which I enjoy doing that. Most of the stuff we have at school, we have a great group of school counselors. We have a good program through United Way with our Link program. Becky Erickson is a tremendous asset to the Ludington schools and to the community. So we're all talking about training and keeping people coming up the ranks. So the thoughts are always there, and we're always pushing people to get involved in different things. And they just have to find that niche that they really enjoy, and hopefully they'll be able to keep on going from there.
No, that's great. Yeah, and that's so. For those of you who are listening and you want to find a way to possibly give back, there's any number of ways that you can help.
All sorts of ways.
But especially in a leadership capacity, if you want to be able to come in and have that type of impact, we do. Again, Mark has had his place here for quite some time, and an impact on the community as a whole. There's going to be, we need to have folks that are my age and younger that need to be saying, hey, I want to help. I want to be able to do these things. So if anything that, Mark has talked about, we've addressed today, there's any, basically just ask anyone and they'll get you in front of the right person. Specifically here, it's a small community. I've tried, in order for me to get a hold of people, it's usually only taken me maybe 2 degrees of separation.
Yep.
You're like, nope, wrong place. But you want to talk to Amy. Okay, I go talk to Amy. He's like, nope, you're close. You want to talk to Mike on this? Like, okay, and off we go.
And I think the real important part of it is you're going to find out just how rewarding it can be. When you first, it's a kind of a daunting thing at first. I have two really great ladies, Jessica Garcia and her mom, Deb Saya, helping with our clothing program through the school. And I think for them, they were surprised the need that was there, but I think they were also surprised at what a rewarding experience it's been to do the things that they're doing.
Yeah, and in our last bit here, that just go back to that is when you volunteer, when you give time, you get so much more out of it than those folks that you're helping. It never ceases to amaze me when people volunteer for the first time. And again, the phrase I go back to is Bill Murray at the end of Scrooged, is that you like that feeling and you want it and you're going to fight to have it and keep it and be around all the time. So if you're worried about people you don't know what you're doing, but you want to help, that's okay. Hands are what we need for a lot of these things. So, again, that's about all the time we have for today. Mark, this has been great. So
it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, again, just want to thank you again for joining us today and sharing your leadership journey, but also just for the outsized impact you've had on this community as a whole. When I put on there, over 50 years of time with Ludington schools, I wasn't a bit surprised by the number of people that came up and said stuff. So, we're a better community for having you here. So,
Thank you.
So, attention business owners, are you tired of working in your business instead of working on your business? Are you making all the decisions? Are you working harder even though you've hired more people? Are you frustrated with your business performance? I am hosting a free business base camp on October 25th at the Lakeshore Resource Network, where attendees will learn some of the core tools all of my companies use to build amazing businesses. To learn more about the business base camp or what I do to help businesses like Safe Harbor Credit Union and Larson's Landscaping, visit summitbusinessguides.com, follow Summit Business Guides on Facebook, or send me a note at ryan@summitbusinessguides.com. So join me next week when I'll be talking with Linda Matson from the Crown and Cork to learn more about her journey to become a West Michigan leader.
You've been listening to Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe, a weekly program where you hear success stories of local officials and business leaders. Join us next week for more of Leading West Michigan right here on 102.7